Okay, so when we talk about weight loss, right? It's it's so easy to just get caught up in the numbers, isn't it?
Hmm.
The scale, the clothes size, that constant chase for the quick fix.
Yeah, definitely.
And we often tell ourselves, like, if I can just lose the weight, everything else will sort itself out. But what really happens after that? After the initial weight loss?
Right.
What's the story beyond the numbers? That's often the part we miss. So today we're really diving deep into exactly that, and we're drawing on some really profound insights from Dan Hollis.
He has such a unique perspective.
He really does, because you see, a lot of programs out there, they might just hand you like the syringe, the quick biological
Tell
fix.
it full and
Yeah,
fast.
exactly. But Hollis, he gives you the map. He shows you the actual terrain you're going to navigate, not just the final stop. Okay, let's unpack this.
And that map idea is, I think, why this deep dive is so important right now.
Mm.
We're not just looking at, the mechanics of weight loss or even just how a drug like semaglutide works.
Yeah.
This is really about understanding the crucial psychological stuff, the emotional work, the identity shifts that actually define whether this change lasts.
Hmm.
So our mission here really is to get a handle on not just what happens when the weight comes off, but why it matters so deeply and maybe what you can actually do with that knowledge to, build something sustainable.
Okay, so let's start right there with semaglutide. Because for so many people, it really is seen as the solution, the
We
answer.
just dodge a bullet, yeah.
It works by mimicking a hormone,
Mm.
right? Quiets appetite, makes you feel full, basically turns down that constant food noise. But Dan Hollis, he really pushes back on seeing it as just the solution. How does he want us to think about it? What's this signal or reset idea?
Yeah, that reframing is key. Hollis sees it less as the final answer and more like a critical tool that hits a temporary pause button.
A pause button.
It's interesting.
Think about it, trying to rebuild really deep emotional habits when you're constantly fighting intense biological hunger, that loud food noise. It's almost impossible.
You have no bandwidth. Exactly. So the medication, it creates space. It quiets the biological noise so you actually
Right.
have the mental energy to consciously build new systems, new ways of coping
Well, things are quiet.
while things are quiet. But, and this is the really crucial bit, you have to know what to do with that quiet. He makes this great point. If your body's biochemistry is genuinely like rigged against you,
Which for many people, it feels like it is.
it really does, then using science to unrig it isn't cheating, it's adapting.
Mm.
It just highlights that, pure willpower. It's often not enough for the long haul.
Okay, so the drug gives us this pause, this quiet. What does Hollis say we're supposed to do in that quiet space? Because it sounds like for a lot of people, it's not actually peaceful at first. It's
Yeah.
revealing.
Yeah.
And this next point, I think, really gets to why emotional support is so critical here. Hollis says something pretty stark. People don't relapse because the drug stopped working.
Right. That's not usually it.
They relapse because, and I quote, no one helped them rebuild the emotional framework that food used to support. Now, if you're someone just focused on calories, that might sound a bit fuzzy. How does that emotional framework actually show up?
Oh, it's incredibly tangible. When the cravings, that food noise, when it starts to lessen, a lot of people actually report feeling, well, anxious
Hmm.
or just weird.
Weird, yeah, like something's missing.
Exactly, because for so many of us, food wasn't just fuel, was it? It was comfort when stressed, maybe control when things felt chaotic, sometimes even part of our social identity.
Sure.
And when that suddenly vanishes, it can honestly feel like, as he puts it, losing a friend, even if that friend, wasn't always helpful.
Wow, losing a friend you didn't even realize you had in that way.
Pretty much. And this is the quiet Dan Hollis talks about experiencing himself. He said it was unsettling, but also strangely beautiful because it's in that silence, that space, that all the stuff we used food to kind of push down, it starts to bubble up.
The buried stories.
The buried stories, exactly. Connecting this to the bigger picture, it means you have to acknowledge that void left by food. You can't just ignore it. You have to understand it and address it.
Which leads right into why Hollis stresses that the true work starts not when you begin losing the weight, but when you stop needing food to explain your feelings. That hits hard. It's so much deeper than just managing calories.
It's a fundamental shift, isn't it? Really reevaluating your whole relationship with food, moving way beyond just physical hunger into that whole emotional landscape underneath.
So if the real work starts then, what happens when, okay, you've lost the weight, the clothes fit, great. But inside, the story you tell yourself, it hasn't caught up. Hollis has this incredible line, weight loss is biology. staying there is narrative.
That's such a powerful
That
distinction.
flips the whole usual script.
It totally does.
Yeah.
Because the biology, the diet, the exercise, maybe the medication that gets you to the goal weight, maybe, but the narrative. That's the story you live in after. It's your internal blueprint for who you are now, without the weight as a central focus.
And if that story hasn't changed,
Then you're basically fighting your old self, day in, day out. And this leads directly to what he calls identity grief.
identity grief. Tell us more about that.
It's this kind of hidden side effect of major weight loss. People look in the mirror, the reflection is different, but they feel this disconnect. They realize, I actually have no idea who I am without this struggle.
Wow. That's not on the commercials.
Definitely not. It's the silence after the celebration, as he puts it. And Hollis explains that hunger itself doesn't just poof, disappear forever. It shapeshifts
Shapeshifts into what?
into memory, maybe, or confusion, or sometimes just emptiness. A space. And here's the critical part. If that space isn't consciously filled with something genuinely nourishing and not just food,
Then the old patterns creep back in.
exactly, the cravings return, maybe in a different form. Like Hollis says, people don't relapse into hunger, they relapse into confusion.
Relapse into confusion. That explains so much. That silence after the celebration, man, who prepares you for that. So, okay, we have this space, this confusion. This is where Hollis offers the roadmap, right? What does he say we fill that space with? He uses the term scaffolding. He says, support isn't optional, it's neurobiological scaffolding. Okay, that sounds a bit technical, but what does he actually mean?
He means that just like a building needs temporary supports, while the new permanent structure is setting, our brains need a similar system. We need habits, routines, connections, maybe therapy, coaching.
Things to hold us up while we rebuild inside.
Precisely. It's about literally providing the support needed to build new neural pathways, to reinforce this new, healthier identity. It involves weaving new rituals, helpful ones, into the fabric of your old routines.
So it's practical stuff.
It's very practical. Also, it's clear. Keeping weight off requires deep identity work. It's about becoming the sort of person who genuinely doesn't need weight loss as their main project anymore. And sustaining that, he argues, comes through alignment with this new self, not just grim discipline.
Alignment, not just discipline. I like that. Less struggle, more flow.
Ideally, yes. Shifting from constant external battle to internal congruence. Who you are matches what you do.
Okay, but speaking of struggle, what about the inevitable bumps? You know, hitting a plateau or feeling those old cravings sneak back. We hear that all the time. People lose fast, then just stall. What's happening?
Yeah, and Hollis is really clear on this. Your body is smart. It adapts. Losing weight very quickly can feel great initially, but it often triggers your metabolism to slow down. Your body's trying to conserve energy, protect itself.
Right, the survival mechanism kicks in.
Exactly. That's why he really hammers home the idea of pacing. He has this great line, you're not here to win the race, you're here to finish it.
That's good.
For him, pacing is protection. And when those old cravings seem to reappear, he says it's crucial to see it not as weakness, but as memory.
Just an old pathway lighting up.
Just an old neural pathway that got used a lot over the years. But the difference now is that you have new tools, new ways to respond to that signal instead of defaulting to the old habit. He also really stresses you need a clear off-ramp strategy if you plan to stop semaglutide.
You can't just stop cold turkey.
Not usually, no. You need a plan for that transition, because otherwise, he warns, biology will likely just take over again.
So the key message here is that setbacks aren't really failures. Hollis says they're predictable, not shameful. They're just signals, signs you're human, basically, not lazy.
Absolutely.
He uses that image of a spiral staircase. Sometimes it feels like you're going in circles, but you're actually still climbing. And he points out your body changes fast. Your identity takes time to catch up.
And that time lag is so important to acknowledge. So a setback doesn't mean the medication failed or you failed. It often means the story you're telling yourself needs an update. Or maybe the scaffolding you built needs a bit of reinforcing.
Ah, okay.
Hollis sees these moments as really valuable chances to pause and ask, okay, what am I really feeling right now? Forget the food for a second. What do I truly need? And who do I want to choose to be in this moment?
Using the setback as data.
Exactly. He believes failure is only failure if you don't learn anything. And here, meaning in his community, we learn in public, together. It's about turning those tough moments into fuel for deeper self-understanding.
Okay, so after all this deep work, the biology, the narrative, the identity stuff, how does Dan Hollis actually measure success? If it's not just the number on the scale, what does it look like? What does this all mean for someone listening, someone on this path?
Well, his definition really gets to the heart of it. He says he measures success not by the number on the scale, but by how many coping mechanisms we've replaced with real tools.
Wow. Okay. So it's about building genuine resilience.
Completely. For Hollis, ultimately, weight loss is a side effect of clarity. The real goal is building a life where you simply don't need those old emotional crutches anymore.
And you really sense his personal stake in this, don't you? He's open about how his motivation comes from having lived it,
Yeah, he talks about that.
being the person who felt broken, who couldn't figure it out, who felt ashamed. And he essentially built his program so that, in his words, nobody has to go through that alone again. That personal history seems to drive everything.
It really seems to. And his core philosophy, beautifully distilled, is this journey isn't about eating less. It's about living more.
Living more.
Yeah, it boils down to rebuilding connection to your body's actual signals like hunger and fullness, connection to a sense of purpose, and ultimately connection back to a more authentic version of yourself.
This whole deep dive, it really feels like it shifts the whole conversation, from just thinking about weight loss as like a biological equation.
Right, calories in, calories out.
To understanding these absolutely vital psychological pieces, the narrative parts, that really determine if it lasts. It's not just what you eat, but why you eat, and importantly, who you are becoming when food takes a different role.
It really does underscore that critical interplay, doesn't it?
Hmm.
Biology can deliver amazing results fast sometimes, but the psychology, the internal story, that can undo it all just as quickly if it's not addressed.
Hmm.
That's why Hollis keeps coming back to needing the right language, the right scaffolding, and understanding narrative memory to actually lock in those biological gains. It's about equipping yourself to really live in that new reality.
Yeah, to thrive there. And maybe the best way to wrap this up is with this final thought from Dan Hollis. It kind of brings it all together. Slow down.
Good advice.
This isn't punishment, it's repair. Trust the process, but more importantly, stay in relationship with yourself while you do it. So maybe the invitation for everyone listening is to reflect on that. What's your story running underneath it all? And what might a deeper, more aligned journey look like for you? Where maybe that quiet after the cravings isn't empty, but actually full of potential.